Well, good afternoon, everybody. Or good midnight, something like that. Yeah. Guys, it is a tremendous honor to be like at First Baptist on a refuge night. It doesn't feel like it was too long ago. It might have been that I attended Grow. It's now called Explore, I believe, but I don't know why they changed it. Get ready for a Ouachita World. It's just such a more thrilling name. But I sat in the back, and it was the first time that I really witnessed just the phenomena that is refuge. And I never really had that in high school, anything like this, where I got to come together with some of my closest friends and get into God's Word and experience community. So this is a really cool thing, and I just want to say thank you guys for allowing me to be here, even on this very late night. My bedtime was like 30 minutes ago. I'm kind of an old man. Yeah, a lot has changed since that day, and just to tell you a little bit about me, I got married about a year ago Also, I'm a Christian Studies major, senior Christian Studies major. And in addition to that, I serve at First Benton Baptist Church, and I work with middle schoolers, so that's also a whole lot of fun. That's enough about me, so let's go ahead and just dive right in tonight. We're going to be in Revelation chapter 12, starting in verse 7. Yeah, Revelation. Fire and brimstone, baby. Let's go. Yeah. I don't know why I chose this kind of yeah. So as you're turning there, let me just give you a little bit of some background of Revelation, because it definitely needs it. Revelation is one of the most complex books in the Bible, and people say all sorts of weird things about it. But let's just get this straight. Revelation was given to us by God, I believe through John, through Revelation. That's why it's called Revelation. And it's meant for two things. That Christians living at the time, John gave them this revelation to, one, encourage them to continue to live faithfully. But the second aspect of that was, it was also a warning for those who were considering falling away into temptation and rejecting Christ under Roman and Jewish opposition. So, I still believe that these same principles, this encouragement to follow Christ and this warning to stay true to the faith, are still very relevant to today, no matter the weird themes and the hard interpretations it may be to understand this book. So let's just dive right in, starting in verse 7, and it says, Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. But he could not prevail, and there was no place for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was thrown out, and this is the dragon, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the one who deceives the whole world. He was thrown to earth, and his angels with him. Then John reports this, he says, Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, The salvation and the power of the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah have now come, because the accuser of our brothers has been thrown out. And that's the one that accuses them before our God day and night. And then he continues on in verse 11. They conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, for they did not love their lives even until death. Whenever I was in kindergarten, I did have permission to share this story with my wife, okay? Whenever I was in kindergarten, there's this girl who had a crush on me, and just for the sake of privacy, I won't share her name. But during nap time, okay, you may have had a similar experience. Like our names were written on our mats, and if you had a crush on someone, you were able to put your mat like next to that person, and or it could have been like a best friend too. Who knows? But like you got to lay out the mats and like keep the smelly kid away from you, but like the crush close by. So this girl, it was her turn to lay out the mats, and she puts her mat next to mine, and I'm just okay. By the way, like I've got nothing for this girl. Like She puts her around the swing set once. That's it. She puts her mat next to mine. I'm just thinking, oh no, where's this going? I turn my back to her. She's behind me. She goes, psst, psst. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, what's about to happen? Hey. So I roll over and I'm like, what? She says, I'm going to kiss you. My water just disappeared. So I did the only thing I knew how to do in that moment, and it's kind of gross, but I said, you kiss me, you're going to be kissing spit. Well, unfortunately, nearby, there was a friend of my mother's, who she was actually substituting at the time, and she thought she heard the whole conversation correctly, but, I was in kindergarten, so my voice sounds like hers, and anyway, so she says, Brenton, were you trying to kiss that girl? And I stood up and I said, no, Miss Rainbow, I promise, she was trying to kiss me. Well then, this girl stands up and she said, no, Miss Rainbow, he was trying to kiss you. So she tells me, Brendan, I'm going to tell your mother what you did. Guys, for the rest of the day, I was living in fear because, guys, I'm not allowed to kiss girls for another 10 years at least. So this is bad news for me. Guys, honestly, if we'd be real with each other and with ourselves, pretty much daily we live in fear. And it's not like Halloween's coming up, this spooky, ghost fear. It's really more of this fear that causes anxiety. This shame and regret that we continually feel because we have sins or wrongs that we've done or things that have happened to us, ways that we've been wrong, that we have been unable to let go of. And guys, inevitably, our sin is often the result, or our shame and our guilt, the fear that we feel from that is often the result of sin that we committed on our own. But we also need to understand that this lingering sin, the sin that holds on to us, that stops us from really experiencing the presence and the love of our God, it comes from the accuser, the chief accuser, and that is Satan. And we learn a little bit about Satan's character here in this chapter. So in verse 7 it says, kind of where Satan came from. And it says, then war broke out in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels fought. But he could not prevail, and there was no longer for them in heaven, there was no place for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was thrown out, the ancient serpent, who was called the devil and Satan, the one who deceives the whole world. He was thrown to earth with his angels. There's a few things I want to point out here. First thing is that in verse 7, God is not involved in this just yet. He's not exactly in the picture, or at least John doesn't say that he is. So that tells me that literally this fight is below God, maybe metaphysically and literally and metaphorically as well. So it's totally wrong to think of something like this next picture that we're about to throw up, of somehow Jesus and Satan are deadlocking each other. Let me just tell you, everything about this picture is completely wrong. If anything, that should be Michael, although I don't think Satan looks like that. That should be Michael, arm wrestling Satan, if we're going to get some sort of accuracy. But even then, this passage says that Satan even lost to Michael, who is his opponent, his equal, in a sense. But even more than that, this passage continues on, and it says in verse 10, then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah have now come, because the accuser of our brothers has been thrown out, the one who accuses them before our God day and night. And if you're following along with me, perhaps your translation says, for the accuser of our brothers. The translation that I have up here, it says because. This really comes from the original word hati, means because or since that. Really, this is the best translation. This is why I chose the CSB. Because Satan was thrown out, down to earth where we are, that's why God steps in. Now I'm trying to rack my brain around why God didn't step in whenever the battle was in heaven. Honestly, in all my theological expertise, which is like maybe that much, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know why he wasn't listed in like the fighting lineup in verse 7. But what I do know is that he shows up whenever the battle comes to earth. Now, why is that? I probably can tell you maybe in some sort of sense why that happens. And it's the same reason why Satan is attacking us. It's because you are the object in the adoration of God's affection. He loves you. Like, you have his image, and you are incredibly important, and Satan knows that, God knows that, and you are worth fighting over. That's incredible. So we continue on, and we learn a little bit about Satan's tactics. In fact, we can talk all night about how much God loves us, and I think we're going to be doing that for maybe an eternity. But for tonight, let's just look at how Satan attacks. First way we see him attacking, it says in verse 9, it says the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the one who deceives the whole world, he is the deceiver. Guys, and he deceives us in all sorts of ways in our culture. Our culture thrives off deception. It doesn't take me long to like scroll through my Facebook or my Instagram and to see a whole lot of stories that are literally not true. A whole lot of Instagram accounts that tell a totally different story. Why? Guys, because this is just naturally how we think. Like, this is how we operate. But more or less on a college campus, Satan convinces us, he deceives us, that we ought to earn the approval of one another. That is how our value is determined. And let me just tell you that that's completely false. We often just try to create something on social media or even like day to day when we talk with friends that is really not the truth about who we are. And the second way I see that Satan deceives us is that he convinces us that our way is in fact better than God's way. And this seems like kind of insane because it's God, like he's omniscient, omnipotent, like he can do anything. Why would we think that our way is better than his? This makes me think that there's no other possible way other than through deception. This is the oldest trick in the book. In Genesis 3, whenever Satan comes down as the serpent, he convinces Adam and Eve. He convinces Eve at first that, man, did God really tell you can't eat from the tree? I mean, look at what could happen if you do eat from this tree. And Eve starts to think, well, maybe my plan could be better than God's. He begins to twist what God says. And this is absolute nonsense. This is pretty similar to me thinking, just recently, I had a new nephew come into this world just like a few days ago, and it was pretty exciting. Imagine this. While, right before my sister's about to give birth, and I walk into the room and I'm like, hey man, listen, doctor guy, I did pretty well in biology, and you know what, I don't trust you with the whole pregnancy thing and delivering the baby, so yeah, I think my way is going to be better, so let's just see if I can do it. What do you think? As dangerous and as silly as that analogy is, it's also incredibly silly and dangerous for us to take the control seat and start to think that we can rule and operate our own lives. And you know what? This is a fundamental part of why we trust. This is why the Bible repeats this. We need to trust. So humble yourself and don't be deceived. And another way that Satan deceives us, and this is a really important part of verse 10, it says, because the accuser of our brothers has been thrown out, the one who accuses them before our God day and night. Satan is described as an accuser, as a condemner. And when I think about this, I think specifically that Satan accuses and tries to condemn believers. And how I see this play out is, I'm friends with some lost people. I know plenty of lost people. And you know what? They don't feel guilty about their sin most often. It's not something that they really feel accused about, that they need to fix. And here's why. Satan I don't think he really does this for them, because if they can become aware of their sin and they feel guilty about it, and sometimes they do, but then they realize that there's really a deep-seated heart problem, and that needs to be fixed. And so they're going to begin to look for the solution until it is fixed. But here's the weird thing, is that I see Christians, believers, who have been Christians for a very long time. They understand forgiveness and that they've been saved, but they're unwilling to let go of their guilt. They're unwilling to let go of something that happened to them or something that they did long ago. And this is the way that Satan deceives you and makes you think that you are still someone who is to be accused. Romans 8:1 says that, therefore now there's no more condemnation. There's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. In John 8, this is one of my favorite passages. And you know, it's a very interesting one where a woman is brought before Jesus, and she's called the adulterer. And in fact, the passage says that the religious leaders at the time brought this woman to Jesus so that they could accuse him of something. Like, they could accuse him of making the wrong judgment for some reason. But the adulterous woman is brought before Jesus, and they say, Jesus, what should we do with this woman? Like, she's an adulterous woman. We should stone her. And what does Jesus say back to her? You guys know the story. He says, listen, whoever's without sin, cast the first stone. He levels the playing field. And after a while, everybody just starts throwing the rocks down. They just start dropping them and walk away. And finally, it's just her and Jesus. And he looks at her and says, where's everybody at? Does anyone accuse you? Does anyone condemn you? Obviously, the answer is no. He says, look, I'm the only one here. Neither do I. Then he says this, and don't forget it. He says, go and sin no more. That's an incredibly important part. Though Satan wants to deceive and convince you that you are to be condemned, the truth of our God is that he is merciful and he forgives those who repent. And this is exactly how Satan is defeated. Read in verse 11 with me. When it says, they conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, for they did not love their lives in the face of death. If you're looking for a good passage or a good verse to memorize, this is it. So what is the blood of the Lamb? This is a reference to the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross, of course. We understand that this sacrifice, this blood, it cleanses us. In fact, in 1 John chapter 1:7, it says this. It says, but if we walk in the light, as he himself is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. And the blood of Jesus, his son, cleanses us from all sin. His blood cleanses us. And this is a really weird concept. It's like kind of morbid for me. But how I think about it is, the shoes that I'm wearing right now, I bought them not long ago, and I promised myself that I would keep them white and clean, and they're really not. I have a love-hate relationship with white shoes. But after a while, these shoes begin to get dirty. I take them to the power wash. I don't know if anyone else does that. It's like kind of ruins your shoes, but anyways, it works for me. So I take them to the power wash and wash off my shoes, wash off the dirt. And really what I'm doing whenever I wash off the dirt and make my shoe brighter is I'm making my shoe really what it was meant to be. I'm making it more like how it was originally created. Almost like, I'm a philosopher sometimes, and I like to think of like, this is originally like how the shoe was built to be. Like this is the perfect concept of a shoe, or at least I'm approaching that. In the same way, if the blood of Christ cleanses, like 1 John 1:7 says, that whenever the blood of Christ cleanses us, you start to become more of who you were truly meant to be. And this is why I think in heaven, we're going to be more like ourselves than ever before. When you become a Christian, and I'm not going to assume that everyone in this room is, we're not trying to clone you and make you all individual people just like one another. No, you become yourself. It's the only time that you truly become who you were meant to be and the way that God created you, which is incredibly unique. But the second way that we see that Satan is defeated, it says here further on in verse 11, is that he's defeated by the word of their testimony. And this is referring to the ones that were being accused, by the way. As the ones that were being accused, they defeated Satan, their accuser, by the word of their testimony. For they loved not their lives even until death. And that's a very important part as well. And in our NRSV translation, it says this. It says, they clung not to their lives even in the face of death. The way that you live and what you say about Jesus matters. And it's not about making up a testimony to make people impressed with who you are and what God's done in your life. That's not what it's about. Don't fabricate anything. but it's about continuously, daily living, even after you accept Christ. It's living faithfully and boldly against Satan and all opposition that comes your way. And how I've seen this incredibly played out is recently a good friend of mine, he suffered a tragic loss. And I want to say that I've witnessed a miracle recently. In fact, I think many of us have. So not long ago, Noah Bowman, and he's allowed me to share this with you all, he lost his mother. And it was, kind of unexpected. She suffered from mesothelioma, but nonetheless, it was incredibly tragic. And a natural response to something of that nature is sadness, it's hopelessness. Just think with me for a little bit. Like, imagine we didn't grow up in church. Like, death is never a good thing. But somehow, the next day that I saw Noah, that next week, just a few days later, I saw an incredible amount of peace. Like, as God is my witness, I have never seen so much peace in someone before. And I know Noah would want me to say this, and I'm not trying to sit here and brag on Noah, but there are thousands and thousands upon believers who have experienced the same thing in the face of such tragedy. They find peace. So, if you will, I'd like to share with you a little bit about Robin Bowman's testimony. Just before she passed away, she wrote these words in her journal entry, and I want you to take these to heart and listen along with me. She said, "Lord, I will live above the chaos with you, keeping my eyes focused on you, living in freedom, and not allowing anything or anyone to try to push me back down into slavery. I'm not going back there because now I have experienced your freedom." And then she also writes, "Our greatest mission is to die the deaths we're meant to die. Every moment you live, you're dying. How you live is naturally how you die. So if you're living for others, you're dying for them." And she says this, I love this: "Spill your years like wine. Spend them like money lavished at Christmas. Give till you're gone. Live with open hands. Die in little, die in big. Die when it doesn't seem to matter. Die in daily. Live well, die well, and you will hear glory. Hallelujah." It is in our death that we fully surrender to Jesus. It is in the way that we live and the way that we die that we reveal the ultimate power of the blood of the Lamb. And if Jesus' sacrifice truly cleanses us, we cannot be deceived and we cannot be accused. Let us live in the freedom that we've been given in Christ. And Satan he's conquered. He's done. He's finished. We have the tools to defeat it, guys. I think we should worship the heck out of this place. Lord, I just thank you so much for the power of this message. It's a really old story. Dang, it means a lot. God, I thank you for the testament of the Bowman family and the testament of other believers and martyrs who gave up everything because they knew that you were worth it, God. And when their life was finished, they saw eternity. Lord, let Satan not have a hold on any of us. There's no foothold. God, for the rest of our days, let us remember this truth. That your blood cleanses. God, that we are forgiven. That we don't need to be deceived because we cannot be accused. Father, it's in your perfect and matchless name that I pray these things. Amen. 'Cause, 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 'cause
victory in you, Lord, and we celebrate that tonight. You've given us life, eternal, the opportunity to be with you, to live in your presence forever, Lord, and we couldn't thank you enough. So God, we lift this night up. It's just a night of praise to your name. You are so great. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Thank you.